everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer, and I'm the host of Own Your Wellness. And I am so excited to be here today. It's a lovely afternoon in Southern California. I cannot complain. And if you notice, I got some beautiful flowers behind me. Those are my just because flowers from my boyfriend, Drew. Isn't that the sweetest thing ever? So instead of having the usual backdrop, I decided to throw those guys in there and share the beauty. Anyway, today I have a wonderful guest, and she's got a smile that won't quit. I can hardly wait to bring her on. Her name is Rachel S. Heslin. Hi, Rachel. Thank you for coming to the show. How are you?
Hi, Julianne. I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, my standard response nowadays is I'm doing really well, all things considered, because let's face it, life is a little bit crazy nowadays.
It absolutely is, but I'm kind of enjoying riding the wave. I can't lie.
Yeah.
So I would just love for you to share a little bit about yourself with our guests or the audience, I should say, and your own wellness journey.
It's interesting because usually when people ask me to talk about myself, I talk about my psychological background because hi, Helene. I grew up in the household of a clinical psychologist. And not only would he come home and practice what he learned, but he would actually teach me what it was that he was doing and explain things. So I grew up being very much aware that the human brain is weird. We do things, and I am so fascinated by why people do the things that they do. And how is it you can have two people in what looks like exactly the same situation, and they have totally different experiences? So that has been a driving force in my life of understanding, why do people do what they do? Why do they do things that seem like they're actually working against themselves? And how can we change things so we can live happier lives? So that's the mental health aspect of it. But the interesting thing, when I was thinking about how do I talk about my wellness journey, what came to mind wasn't just the mindset and the emotional how I feel about things, because that's a journey in and of itself, especially because I used to really struggle with thinking I had to be perfect, that nothing I could do was enough. And I was constantly trying to put up this facade of, hey, I'm this great, perfect person, because I thought that's who I was supposed to be. And I was so ashamed to not be able to live up to others' expectations that I put more of my energy into proving than improving. And so part of my journey was learning that it's okay not to know everything. I will survive if I don't have all the answers. And it is such a relief to know that it's okay to just kind of be me and things kind of work out. Now, I'm talking about the wellness journey beyond that. And this is something that I don't think I've ever discussed in an interview before. When I was younger, I think I may have been 13, 14, something like that. I was diagnosed with very severe environmental sensitivities. Halfway through my junior year of high school, the building that I was in, which was a single building for the entire high school and insufficient ventilation, and there was probably mold and chemical and things like that, I got so sick that by the time I got to my final period, I was actually losing consciousness.
Wow.
Where it wasn't just I fell asleep, but it was like I was drugged and I was out. And I couldn't wear skirts because my veins were all mottled and weird, and I was embarrassed by this. So we went to some doctors and they said, no, you're sick. You can't be in that building. That building is making you sick. And I ended up transferring to a different school that was an open campus. I'm a Southern California girl as well.
Yep.
So Yeah, so it was okay to have all of these outdoor areas and the individual buildings for the classes, and you go, and I got better. I gave myself 3 shots, 3 injections every 3 days for 7 years because of this. But one of the side effects that I overheard a discussion that I thought I was fragile. I thought that I was always going to be at the effect of my environment. That regardless of what I did, that was it. I mean, this went on. I was in my 20s. I was living with an aunt in North Hollywood, which, if you're familiar with the San Fernando Valley, get really smoggy. Yeah. And again, by the end of the day, I would just be out as if I were drugged. And I had this mental idea of, this is who I am. I am constantly being constrained by the weakness of my body. And over the years, I finally started to question that. And one of the first things that shifted it was looking at it not as, okay, you're good and then you're sick, but seeing my wellness as a barrel. And you have so much going into it, whether it's toxins, things that I'm breathing, things that I'm eating. Do I have sensitivities to this stuff? What is my emotional state? How much sleep am I getting? Am I moving my body and getting exercise? And all of the, I don't like using the word negative, but there are things that take a toll and they fill up the barrel so that I'm resilient, I'm resilient, I'm resilient, I'm resilient, and then it overflows and I'm done. And once I started looking at it as a barrel, I could start saying, okay, what are things that I have control of that I can do to reduce the level of all the stuff in that barrel? What if I don't drink soda pop? What if I don't have the ice cream? Not because I shouldn't have ice cream, but because I know if I have sugar and dairy, it raises the level that's in the barrel and it makes it harder to do the things I want to do. There are so many things I've seen in the wellness sphere are like, well, you should do this because it is virtuous to do this, or whatever the undercurrent is. And that doesn't really work for me. I am a big fan of, what do I want and what is the most efficient way of doing what I want, getting what I want, and being who I want to be. So I've changed my diet and I feel better. I didn't do it because, oh, well, I should, but because I started paying attention. What happens if I have that chocolate cake? What happens, or if I have that donut at work? I know it tastes so good. And then it sits like a rock in my stomach. Yep. And I know there are times when I'm going to say, I am aware that I am going to feel terrible probably for the next 12 hours. But I don't have anything scheduled. Yeah, I'll go feel terrible for the next 12 hours. And it's a choice. It's wanting to live my life to the fullest. And what's interesting, where I live, the neighborhood park actually has a 1/4-mile circuit of workout equipment, and it's all body weight based. It's all outside, and it's wonderful that my gym, I can sit and see the sky and the trees and the birds. Although one time there were a dozen vultures that made me nervous, but other than that. And what I've noticed is when I get up in the morning and go for my walk, and I don't always want to do it because sometimes it's cold and I don't want to get out of bed. But the two things that I've noticed is one, just the physical aspect of going out, moving my body, and noticing the birds and the trees in the sky and that sort of thing helps ground and center me and get all the clutter out of my head so I can be fully present. And I get, most of the time anyway, sunshine and moving the body to get the blood flowing and the oxygen. And thank you, Mikey. And it's wonderful. And there's an added bonus that every day that I do that, I feel better about myself because it helps validate my perception of myself as someone who cares for themselves, who keeps commitment. I keep commitments to myself, even when it's difficult. And it goes the other way too. On those days when I don't make it out, because I don't make it out every day, things happen. There's snow. On those days, I need to be careful because it's easy to think of, I blew it. I'm not the person I want to be. So I need to be cognizant of how I have compassion for myself as well. And this, interestingly enough, this ties into the work that I do with self-forgiveness. Because one of the things that I found is self-forgiveness is so important. If you are living your life fully, I can almost guarantee there are going to be times that you look back and think, I really wish I hadn't done that. Speaking for myself, I know there have been many situations where sometimes it seemed like a good idea at the time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I knew it wasn't a good idea at the time and I did it anyway.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, okay. But because of that, it's important to know how to work through those times, to let go of I'm a terrible person, and instead step into, hey, I'm human. Mm-hmm. And the three main things, you need honesty. You need to say, yeah, I screwed up. That did not go the way that I wanted. Yeah. The second thing is try to make it better. It's like, if I don't make it out to the park, it's like, okay, but can I at least go for a walk in the afternoon? Can I do some stretching? Can I do something to care for myself? Mm-hmm. And the third thing is making a sincere effort to change. It's like, okay, I didn't make it today. Let me look at my calendar and find a day I am going to commit. This is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then do it. One of the things that I do is I have a little tracking grid. And okay, I got a little carry case. It's like color coded and all this sort of stuff because I have fun with that. And I track the things that are important for me to do. And when I say they're important for me to do, it's that these are things that I have identified for myself personally that help me feel that I am moving towards creating the life I want to be living. And for me, I've got three areas that I'm tracking now. One of them is that physical activity. Mm-hmm. It's like, did I go for a walk? Did I stretch? Did I exercise? And I have little, and it's for each day. I've got my little grid thing and I color code. It's like, ooh, I did extras, like bonus stuff this day. So I get to use purple. And what it does is it gives me a reality check. Just a visual. I can look at it and say, I thought I was doing better than that, but apparently not. And the flip side of that is, I feel like I really haven't been, but actually, when I look at the chart, I have been doing it more often than I realized, and that feels good.
I
It's like
love
the,
that. Yeah, and that's the honesty that you're talking about too. Am I really
yeah.
or am I not? And because our perception isn't always accurate. So
Yeah, yeah. It was like I think I have a book called Navigating Life. And one of the examples I use was the working out where I wasn't seeing any progress. And it's like, I'm putting all this effort in. Why do I still not have any delts? I mean, and then I started tracking it. It's like, oh, I thought I was doing like 4 or 5, sometimes 6 days a week. And I was like, no, that's closer to like 3. So of course I'm getting half the results. I'm doing half the work. But my mind didn't realize that this is what I was doing.
exactly.
So
No, I
it's like
love that. Yeah. No, that's a really, really, really good way to keep yourself honest. Something that you mentioned that I really wanted to touch on and have you elaborate
yeah,
on is the fact that you go outside to exercise and that you have this outdoor, like
yeah,
body weight, sorry, body weight, not
yeah,
weights.
yeah,
Because I'm a personal trainer. That's one of
yeah,
my many certifications, but I'm not a gym person. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
all for, and with COVID, my clients are all outdoors. So,
yeah,
I just love that you still were finding a way, even if, maybe it is weights, maybe it isn't, but you are
yeah,
finding a way that works for you. Plus getting that, that outdoors aspect
yeah.
that's good for your soul.
It is. Because one of the things that I have found is that when I go for my walks, they're more energizing if I use them to clarify. Because I know sometimes, and I admit there are times I go for my walks when I'm trying to work out problems. There's the combination of the blood flow and the bilateral asymmetry, the back and forth thing triggers the right left brain thing. And I
Yep.
go for walks and figure stuff out, and it's wonderful. And there are times when I go for walks in order to let things go, in order to bring myself into presence. And the motion of my body is something that I become aware of. What is it like when I'm shifting my weight? Am I favoring one side to the other? I actually have scoliosis. So that's something that I've become very aware of over the years. Am I overcompensating? Do I need to make an effort here? How do I feel? Is there an irritation somewhere that I could take care of? And sometimes it's just my breath. Am I breathing as deeply and fully as I could be? Am I aware of my body? Because that's something else that has shifted over the years. Um, there are actually 2 things I want to touch on. One, when I was younger, when I went to university, I lived in the dorms and I did the yo-yo thing back and forth and back and forth. And what ended up breaking the yo-yo pattern of my weight is when I stopped paying attention to what my body looked like and started really honing in on what it can do and how do I use my body. And as I have developed and changed my relationship with my body, oh, this is interesting. This is fun. Um, on one of my meditative walks, I was thinking about things and I realized, due to a lot of my childhood experiences with the environmental sensitivities, I felt like I could not trust my body. And I was in a semi-meditative state as I was going through and admitting and acknowledging this. And what came up from my body is, well, that's funny. My body didn't trust me because I wasn't caring for it. And it was like, okay, you got me on that one. Because I hadn't been paying attention to the barrel. One of the questions when I'm really feeling overwhelmed is, am I doing absolutely everything that I can do to strengthen my resilience and vitality? 90% of the time, the answer is no. Yes, I'm doing stuff. But if I know that there is more that I could be doing and I'm not, I don't have anyone to blame but me.
Exactly.
And taking back that power and say, okay, I've got, so like many people, I need to have my phone surgically removed. It's just like constantly there. I discovered an app that I am in love with. Uh, and it's funny, I'd given you a couple of links ahead of time to share with people. And if I had this one I ahead of time, I would have shared it, but I didn't think about it. It is called Forest, Forest. And the purpose is to keep me from wasting away my time, my energy, my vitality, everything scrolling through my phone. Now, I have tried other apps that say, okay, you can shut off these apps. You can't look at Facebook between the hours of this and this, or no, you can't access this one, or take it off your phone, all that stuff. And it gets to the point that when it's the end of the day, I'm in that afternoon slump, and it's like, I'm stressing over whatever. It's so easy to say, bypass. Yeah, I want to look at it anyway. And it was all that negative reinforcement. No, you can't. Now, here's the thing about Forest. You can set it up so that you could if you spend the $1.99 like I did for the paid app, you can create your own little tags. You can get different types of trees. And what you do is you set up a timer and say, okay, I am not going to play with my phone for this amount of time. And if I succeed in not playing with it, I get to grow a flower or a tree or something. And I've got like I've got these different trees for this. And it's been wonderful because I have something really cute and quasi-tangible to show for I'm not playing on my phone. And I was able to, part of the paid part is I set it up so that there are a couple of apps that I can access. I can take pictures, I can use it as a phone, and I can listen to podcasts or something like that. So that it's like, I really need to clean the house. I really need to work on this area here, but I want to listen to music. So I put on my they actually have a tree that if you let it grow for 2 hours, it turns into a tree house. So
I love that.
I have that set up, and I have my little tag of house, because that's or environment that I'm working on. And I set that up and I throw in a podcast, and that's it. And I focus and I get it done. And then I have little trees. So
you turn it into a game. So
exactly.
It's fun, and then you get that dopamine hit too.
Oh, yeah.
I had to do that when I was trying to include more water in my life. I had put one of those apps on my phone that would remind me. And also I wanted to earn, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like fish or something. And I was like, I need to get it. So it worked. It totally worked. And it was fun. Instead of, like you said, that negative reinforcement, which you don't ever want to prove to yourself that you can't do something. So it just makes everything in life harder.
I find there are definitely ways in which it helps, but I need to have a certain level of cognizance in order for it to help. And it's back to, if end of the day, I'm like, whatever, let's go scroll Twitter. So when I have things that say
energy, no, especially if your energy's down and your willpower is not what it was in the morning, then it's kind of like you just don't care. I mean,
exactly.
Or not as much until later when you've done it.
That has been something I've really noticed in the evenings. I mentioned the times when I decide, I'm going to have sugar or something like that, even though I know it's going to affect me. One of the things that I find is because my energy level droops at the end of the day, I'm more likely to hit carbs or something like that and justify it to myself, well, I'll just sleep it off. But what that does is it triggers the next morning. I'm just that little bit groggy still, and I don't really, and it becomes just kind of a spiral.
Yeah.
Whereas if I go, hold on, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make myself some tea. And I've got my herbal tea, and I like the flavor in it. And it, because a lot of the times, one of the things I found is that, okay, back to learning to listen to my body. There are times when I would eat things because I thought I was hungry, but it turns out I wasn't hungry. I was thirsty. But now here's the kicker. I wasn't thirsty because I was dehydrated. It's because earlier I had eaten so much terrible stuff that my body was trying to get rid of toxins, and it wanted me to drink more stuff to clear things out. So if I hadn't eaten the terrible stuff, and by terrible, I mean how it affects me, not that it is intrinsically terrible, but the things that don't make me feel good, if I hadn't eaten that earlier, then I wouldn't feel like I need to get more stuff through my system. I wouldn't be thirsty. Then I wouldn't be eating more terrible stuff. And in this case, it's terrible. It's not necessarily intrinsically bad, but it is not feeding hunger. It's just not the appropriate response to what's actually going on in my body.
Exactly. Your body's trying to self-regulate, and it's an amazing thing, our bodies. It is so fascinating. It is time for us to go to a commercial break. So thank you, Rachel. We'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
I adore this woman. She has got so many fabulous insights, and I'm excited to talk about her book when we get back, as well as how to reach her and just some more information, because she is full of fantastic ideas and tips on how to regulate, how to change habits, how to view things. And before we go to commercial, I also want to say hello to everybody who's watching us live. Thank you so much. As always, you are so appreciated. But like I mentioned, we do need to go to commercial break. So we'll be right back after these messages.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you're just joining us now, my name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. And today's special guest is Rachel S. Heslin. Anyway, let's bring her back on. She gave me some codes for us, so let's start with that. Welcome back. So you had mentioned
for the app.
here we go. This is the app that you were referring to, correct? And in
Yes.
just a moment, we're going to put up a referral code as well. So just to give everybody, and for those who are just joining us now, would you mind recapping what this app is?
Okay, what it is, it's an app you put on your phone that it's kind of a productivity app, but instead of preventing you from going to distracting websites or other apps or things like that, what it does is it rewards you for setting aside certain periods of time not playing with your phone. And if you succeed in not playing with your phone for that amount of time, it gives you little trees to plant in a forest.
And so they sign up with this referral code, then they get a pear tree.
No, I get I'm not sure if they get a pear tree, but
you can earn a pear tree.
Yeah, I can earn it's like if I get 5 people to sign up, then I get a little tree that's shaped like a pear. They have trees that are shaped like cats.
Oh my goodness.
They've got like all sorts of fun stuff.
I love this. But so let's use that referral code, everyone. But you know what? While people are writing that down, I would love for you to take a minute and talk about your writing.
Oh, yeah. I've got 2 books out right now. One of them is called Navigating Life: 8 Different Strategies to Guide Your Way. And it was the reason I wrote the book was it's very meta. I am a big idea person. I love thinking about things and what might be possible. But when it comes down to the execution, it's easy for me to get lost in all the little things and, oh, that looks interesting. And I wanted to see if I could actually write a book. And what I ended up doing is looking at what were all the things that I got stuck on. Where were my friction points? What was difficult for me? And how did I deal with it? And what I discovered is that there were certain areas that I ran into, but if I developed strategies to deal with them, I could work through them and continue to move forward. And the reason that I call it different, I refer to them as strategies rather than steps, is because it's a DIY. It's not do this, 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 and then profit. It's it's that these are 8 areas that I found that if I developed strategies in each of these areas, and some of them are things that we've mentioned, like the tracking, it's like, what are the reality checks? What are you doing? There are things such as the very first strategy is you need to figure out, is what you're doing really not yours to do? Mm-hmm. We get so caught up in other people's stuff that we can be going like really focused on something that isn't ours. It's what society says we should do, or we want to make our parents happy, or we think that it's practical, or which can be an entirely different tangent about how much of corporate America is so impractical from a human standpoint, but it is considered normal. That's one of the things I have liked about the COVID situation. I personally think that pets and children should be a general part of business lives.
I like that.
Yeah, I saw this, a professor post on Twitter that they were actually very upset because one of their students during class had a new kitten and did not introduce it to the class. So that they were going to change the syllabus for like appropriate pet introduction behavior during the meetings.
It's so cute.
It is. And that type of humanity, I'm hoping is starting to become more normal even in the business world.
Yeah.
But I've gone off on a tangent. I do that. You may have noticed.
I love that. So
Yeah.
both of your books, I'm assuming
Yes.
they can go through your website
Yes.
to get them. And then also, don't you do like blogs or other writing that people can...
I've got articles there. I've got some podcast interviews. I do occasionally, just to mention, I don't think I actually mentioned my other book is called Rituals of Release: How to Make Room for Your New Life. And it's similar to that first one that I was mentioned, the first strategy of figuring out how to get rid of things. And that actually is one of the releases that I mentioned in the second book. But the idea of the second book is when we have an obvious loss, whether it's a job or somebody died. Okay, hold on a second. I'm glowing here. Somebody dies or something happens that it's just obvious that you need to grieve and go through a process of letting go of it. But we don't always realize, most of the time, we don't realize how many little things are constantly accumulating every day. And we don't realize it until we're just dragged under. So what can we do to kind of clear out the cobwebs and do maintenance on a regular basis? And the reason why I like rituals is they provide a container, both for focus, so that you can say, yeah, I'm going to let go of all this other stuff that's going on in the world. And I'm just going to focus on this one thing. There it is. Okay, I'm sorry. This little light thing has been bothering me.
I can see it every once in a while. You're so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I've got the sunlight coming in, and it's making its presence known. But the other thing, in addition to focus, is it helps us kind of tap into something bigger and incorporate a sense of the sacred into our everyday lives. And I like that. It feels good. It helps keep me going when the day-to-day is exhausting. When I can tap into a space that's safe to say, no, now is just to be, now is just to focus on this. So that's why I wrote the book, because I found it so useful to have these ways of just, okay, we're going to drop into mindfulness now. We are going to be here now. I mean, I see my daily scheduling, I've turned it into a ritual where, well, actually, okay, hold on a second. Let me see if I can I move out of the sunspot? There we go. Hi.
Real quick, I just wanted to say something is what you're talking about like the grieving and letting these things go. It also goes with your barrel, because if you're full of all this stuff, you don't have room for anything else.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I love that too. And then I definitely want you to speak into how you make your scheduling a ritual, because I know that is something that I had struggled with for the longest time, and it was a chore and I didn't enjoy it. And the only real way that I could really be effective and truly enjoy my life on a whole another level, instead of just sort of existing, was to create my own schedule. And I love that you turned it into a ritual, because that takes it to a whole nother level. So could you please speak about that?
Well, first of all, I think for the purposes of the way I use it, there are 4 parts of a ritual. The first one is creating a sacred space. Now, for some people, that may be an actual physical location, whether it's like an altar or a place in the forest or something that is special. But it doesn't have to be a physical space. one of the benefits of a physical space is when you go to it, it trains your brain to start shifting into that kind of ritual meditative state. So it can be useful, but it is not necessary. Sacred space can also be time. When you say, these next 10 minutes are going to be set aside just for this. Mm-hmm. The second part is setting an intention. What is my purpose? How will I want to feel or have changed as a result of performing the ritual? Mm-hmm. The third one is some sort of physical action. And it's the action that shifts it from an idea into a ritual, and it helps you embody whatever type of transformation you're trying to experience. And the final part of a ritual is deliberately closing the space. I like using gratitude. Thank you for this time, for the ability to experience whatever it was that I was going through. And what that does is it helps, on the one hand, it makes it easier to just say, okay, we can go out and face the rest of the world and the 4,000 things that you have to do before dinner. And on an emotional and perhaps even a spiritual level, knowing that you have created a closed container tells your heart that it's safe to open. Especially if one of your rituals is trying to identify, why am I sad? Why am I unhappy? Why are things not working? You need to have a safe space for your inner child to come out and play, for those parts of yourself that are scared to come out and actually communicate with you. So by letting them know, hey, you're safe. And one of the neat things is the more often you do rituals in this manner, your heart learns how to trust you, and it strengthens your sense of self and who you are, to the extent that even after you come out of the ritual, it becomes easier to open your heart.
I love that. No, that's, and something that you said I love too about the ritual at the closing in particular, because we're so busy moving from one thing to the next without even stopping and, translating into a different, not everything requires the same energy. Not everything requires the same attitude, and, or a different personality needs to come out. So I love that. I love that so much. But
so scheduling.
Yes. Thank you.
So I've taken years kind of refining things. I worked with an accountability partner for a few years, and a lot of what I do comes from that experience, because every week we would send each other, this is what I want to do. And then we check in on a weekly basis and say, okay, what were we able to accomplish? What did we not do? What did we notice getting in the way of it? How do we want to shift things going forward and learn from it? So from that, I started looking at my processes. I am a big fan of David Allen's Getting Things Done. And I think one of the biggest things is the way that he differentiates between projects versus tasks. And a project is a really big thing that you want to get done, but it's not something you can actually do. Right? For example, if you want to go on a vacation, you need to block out the time. You need to make sure you know where your luggage is. You need to make reservations for this or that. You need to have someone come water your plants. There are all of these little tasks that come together to build the vacation. But if you say, I'm going on vacation, it's like, okay, and? So what I do is I look at, okay, here's what I want to accomplish over the next few months. Here are the projects. And then each month I say, okay, these are the sub projects that I want to take care of this month. And then at the beginning of the week, I list on one side, I've got like my business things, and the other is the personal things. And I say, okay, these are the tasks that I want to accomplish this week. And as I figure out each of these things, there's a ritualistic element to it. But I'll take you through like the beginning of the week and the night before. What my ritual is I have a date book that I am absolutely in love with. It was a Franklin Covey store back when they had Franklin Covey stores, the one in Costa Mesa, and it's one of the 8x10 Monarch size. So it takes regular sheets of paper, and it's really soft cover. I like it, and it zips up, and I open it, and I've got my little tabs for the months. And something about that opening it creates that mindset of me, this is my sacred space. I have my date and my pens and my pencils for my various things that I'm doing. And I have, okay, let's say this is the night before a specific day. I look at, here's my scheduling for the week. Here are the tasks. Here's what I've done so far. This is what needs to be done. And then I drop back down and ask, what will fit the space? Because when I try to think about, well, this is what I should do, I always put too much stuff in. I'm constantly, oh, sure, I can do 8 hours of work, not realizing that I got to pee somewhere along the way. And I have between 2 and 4 teenagers in the house at any time, 2 of which are still doing remote schooling. And I've got things. I've got energy up and down. I've got this, that, and the other. I have things pop up unexpectedly. So if I try to squish everything in based on, oh, sure, I can do that, then it's constricting, and I'm working on and it doesn't work. But if I tap into it, it's like, no, actually, the most important things for me to do tomorrow are this, and this. And anything else, those are stretch goals. If I got time, I'll fit them in. But because I have set aside this ritual space for my scheduling that allows me to tap into my subconscious, my intuition, my guidance, whatever it is, in such a way that I can create a week that I can live with.
I love it.
And then the closing, and it's nice because, as I said, at the time that I'm done, and I've done all my tracking things, I had mentioned the things that I track in addition to the physical care. I track my writing, like what I've written during the day, and creation. So it's not just physical writing, but also recording and video and things, but that creation. And my home, taking care of the environment that I live in so that it's supportive and warm and welcoming, because there's a lot of laundry to be done. And if I think of laundry as, oh my God, I got to do it again, it's draining. But if I think of it as I am caring for my home, and I get to color that little box green because I did laundry, then it gets done and the household has clean clothes. So it's a kind of gamification. So after I've done that and I've checked off all my various other things, then I put away my pens and my pencils and close the book and zip it up, and that's my closure, so that then I can turn to my husband and say, hey, let's spend some time together. Let's go do something without thinking, here are all the things I need to do tomorrow, because I have cared for it and placed it in its container, releasing me to be more present in the next moments.
That's beautiful. So there's something, we're running low on time, but there's something that I really want you to speak about, and that is your YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, this is fun. I just started a YouTube channel. At the moment, I think I have 38 people who have liked it, which is very exciting because most of them I don't even know.
I love that.
Yeah. And what I'm going to be doing is little tips and strategies and things like that. Right now, I haven't started posting them, but what I'm working on a series on how to deal with depression. Because one of the things that I've noticed in myself and people I know and see is that this past year has been so overwhelming. Again, that barrel is so overflowing with everything. What are little tiny things that you can do? I want to switch metaphors here because it's like you can take little things out of the barrel, but the metaphor that I like in this situation is set up scaffolding. What is one thing that you can do to just let go of a little bit of the weight so you can be a little more centered? And once you're a little more centered, can you look around and see, okay, what's the next thing I can do? Yes. So I'm going to be putting out a series of short videos of these little tiny things that can help move you up that path.
I love that. And the beautiful thing too is it's always tiny transformations, tiny like changes that make the biggest transformations is what I was trying to say.
Because the word I like is sustainability. If you try to go too far too fast, it's like, as opposed to little at a time, strengthening the muscles, strengthening your core, strengthening yourself, opening your heart, and testing, does this work? Does this work? Then it becomes a new way of living. Yeah, and I think I'm going to ask if you like the YouTube channel to actually subscribe to it, because once I get 100 people, I actually get my own little URL rather than just...
Let me pop that up one more time. There we go. Let's check her out, everyone. And don't forget to like.
Yes, please. I would greatly appreciate.
I love that so much. We have about 2 minutes left. I was hoping that maybe you might share any last thoughts that you have for the audience or any last tips that you want to share, or you can reiterate something.
Yeah, actually, I think the most important thing is that you matter. You are worth caring about and caring for. You have amazing things ahead of you. And everything you have ever wanted to be already lives inside you. And it's just waiting to unfold.
That is beautiful. Oh, that is so beautiful. I just want to make sure that people can find you as well on your website, because you have dropped a lot of truth bombs, knowledge bombs, just some different ways of being and thought. And, unless people rewatch the episode over and over, which, sometimes they do, but you need to hear it more than once. So I just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to find you. So that is your website. And Rachel, thank you again so much for being on the show. It has been such a pleasure to hear you and get to know you a little bit better. And thank you.
Yeah, you are so very welcome. And thank you for inviting me.
It's been my pleasure. Have a great night. Isn't she amazing, everyone? Oh my gosh. My heart actually literally feels open, which is fabulous. And I'm sure that yours does as well. But that is all the time that we have for this evening. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And we will see you next week.